Hi.
It says setting up, but I know it's live because when I look back at the other videos, when I thought it was still setting up, it was live.
YouTube out here trying to catch us, trying to catch
Okay,
us.
we are
Yeah.
we are in business. How are you doing, darling?
I am good. I'm feeling very good right now. It's been a nice, chilled day, Venus day. Um, just spent it doing hair today, looking cute today.
Looking cute as
Um,
ever.
you too. And yeah,
Thank
that's
you.
literally been like most of the day. And that's cool.
I love that.
Present. It's feeling present. That's it.
Present on this glorious Venus.
hmm hmm How you
Um,
doing?
I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling present as well right now. In the moment, just yeah, flying with the day. Flow with the day. It is Venus Day. I love Venus Day. We were talking earlier about just carving out Venus Day for like self-care and everything. And
hmm
um, yeah, I'm enjoying being intentional about that and intend to be even more intentional about that, especially going into this new season and everything.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, I'm flowing. I'm flowing with everything. I'm flowing with everything. Happy to
of
be
course.
back for time as Goddess Insights.
Me too. We had a break last week, which I think was the first break since we've started. So yeah, had a little time out and then yeah, back again this week. I don't know, I really love these moments and these conversations that we have. It's almost like for me, because of the topics that we discuss, they usually come about because of something we feel aligned with in the week. Maybe
Yeah,
we've had a conversation or something. And so it kind of helps to kind of like summarize thoughts and perspectives on said topic come a Friday or whatever. So on Timeless Goddess Insight. So yeah, I look forward to these conversations. Um, chilled, relaxed, and yeah.
yeah,
And
yeah,
it's something I'm loving and looking forward to interacting with more people
yeah,
on this channel. Um, just because it's also important to I think for us and the direction that we're headed to open the platform up to dialogue,
yes,
others who yeah have varying perspectives, some may be in alignment with how and what we think, and others may differ, but I think it makes for a beautiful world when you've got just varying perspectives and respectful conversations about topics that aren't necessarily spoken about um often or popular, so yeah.
yeah. I agree. I agree. Looking forward to that as well. Um, well, for those who don't know, well, if you've been watching our videos and you kind of got a glimpse into who we are, welcome back. Thank you for being here. And for those who don't know, I guess we can do another introduction as we like to do at the beginnings of our Timeless Goddess Insights webinars. So I'm Olivia Grant. I am a goddess guide. I am co-founder of her Emerald Club along with my sister Marie here. And her Emerald Club is a global society for women to come together to tap into the highest possibilities available to them. And so we do that through um, varying means, but we're currently on a path to launching our app in the spring, which is the inner sanctuary of her Emerald Club. The starting point of so much more, but it's going to be the place in which our global society and community can connect as women. So yeah, that's what we are here for. These conversations that we are having um, give you a glimpse into the types of things and content and resources that we will be offering on our app.
Mhm.
And it's a chance to kind of get to know what we're about and what our mission is, and the thoughts and the people behind such an expansive mission. So That is me.
That is
Thank you,
awesome.
darling.
Yeah, it's always weird when, side note, it's always weird. Not weird, I don't know what the word is, but when you introduce yourself because we're on such similar paths. And so the
So it's like we're saying the
subtlety
same things.
is it definitely feels like that, although we're independent beings. For those who don't know, we're sisters, like full sisters. And so our personalities and independent ways of uh, being creative are different but aligned, you know.
Yeah,
So my name is Marie Antoinette Price, the sister of the Olivia Alexis Grant, and I refer to myself as a divine feminine guide. So I help women awaken and embody their divine feminine essence. And I have an affinity for like really diving deeper into dark femininity. So really tapping into the areas that we suppress or have been considered taboo and really navigating that and alchemizing that space so that we can be in full bloom in all our divine feminine essence. So yes, that's what I do, and I do this through a variety of mediums. So one is divine feminine embodiment coaching. So we'll put the links in the descriptions where you can find all of our resources, but that's definitely one way, as well as producing guides, ebooks, and other resources that are going to be available now, but they are going to be available for a limited period because with her Emerald Club, we are transforming all of our content and really putting it into a space where women can access it in such an efficient and technologically advanced way.
yeah.
So yeah, grab it while you can now in this way,
I
in
love
this
that.
really stay in the loop with what's going on with her Emerald Club. You can sign up for the wait list. Correct me, Liv, it's heremeraldclub.com.
Yeah,
And then you can be in the loop with what's going on when we officially launch our app and all the other bits and bobs that go along with that. So, yeah, that's me.
yeah. I love it. And it is, I definitely encourage people to tap into the resources that you are offering, that I'm offering, because, like you said, they will be transitioned into um, resources that are available primarily, well, exclusively on the app. So between now and then, yeah, tap in where you can, and it will also give you a glimpse into what you can expect from the app, because it's going to be
Yeah.
so much more. But yes, I'm excited. I'm excited for everything that we've got going on. I'm excited for today's conversation. Our topic is the Emerald Path, the power and magic of living in truth.
I always leave you to say the topic because my memory just, yeah, sometimes it be failing me.
Our topics tend to be like mouthfuls. The titles tend to be like,
I know, but they're beautiful mouthfuls.
yeah,
That's like I love the wording. There's always like resonance, but there's
yeah,
just somehow at times a disconnect with me being able to now articulate that. So I
yeah.
think that.
You're welcome. Um, yeah, like you said, though, our topics tend to come about from the things that we've been speaking on and discussing amongst ourselves, like throughout that week, and yeah, just the energy that we've been in, kind of. So, I think this is a really great one as well, because we are in a time when a lot of people are being pushed towards, I guess, honoring themselves completely. And with that comes so many things, especially if you have been living your life in a way where you've, I guess, kind of been ignoring yourself or been surrounded by people who don't quite get the trajectory that you're on. And so now being called to living your truth can feel a bit scary, because you're thinking it's probably going to be isolating. Um, it's a lone path sometimes until you find those that you are actually aligned with.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah, how are you feeling about this topic?
Um, I love it. Like I love the topic because it's the very fabric of um how I am and also continue striving like to navigate my life experience, knowing that everything that is divinely aligned will connect with me as I'm living in my truth.
Yeah.
And so like it can be complicated. Well, I should let me rephrase that. We can complicate it
Yeah.
because deep down we know what is in alignment or what resonates with us and what doesn't. But because of maybe agreements we've made, societal agreements we've made, family agreements we've made, expectations that have been set upon us or that we have set, um, it makes it sometimes a difficult, emotionally difficult place to get to because we're conditioned from young to appease and please.
Yeah.
And some people take it to extremes. I can say I was one of those people who was definitely a people pleaser, um, mostly when it came to family,
Mm.
and even I could say even beyond that at times in the working world and things like that. But it's it does not serve you long term at all. Not even long term. It doesn't serve you in the moment
Yeah.
when you're not living in a way that is aligned with you, because there are uh, repercussions, personal, mental, spiritual, physical repercussions that take place when you are constantly going against yourself. Um, so yeah, this is the topic, the question was like, what do I think about this topic? Yeah, this is what everybody needs to be focusing on, thinking about, operating in a way that is serving them. And if there is like weirdness surrounding, like owning that, questioning that and asking yourself why, because I think there's some people who see that as, well, does that mean that I'm being selfish? Which is a valid question because from a perspective, from somebody else's perspective, it can look like you're only focusing on what serves you and they'll be correct. But when you're operating from a place of love and honesty and integrity, that energy like reverberates out into the universe, into the communities, into your family, and they get the best version of you when you're operating in a way that is serving you. So keeping that at the forefront of your mind
Yeah.
is key, I think, when you do have those moments where there is resistance to um, no longer pleasing others at the expense of self.
You're completely right, especially like you were saying, you realize it wasn't serving you, but I think it's also important for people to understand it's not even serving the people that you think you're pleasing.
That part. That
Like we're
part.
talking about people pleasing, but it's not even serving them
Yeah.
because the fact that they are whatever the situation is in some way um wanting that a version of you that isn't truly aligned with your truest self. And often in situations of people pleasing, there is a lack of self-awareness on that person's part as well. And so it's kind of like you're feeding what doesn't need to be fed, even within them.
Mm,
And so, yeah, and also kind of enabling them to continue to operate in a way that also isn't in alignment with who they truly are. And
yeah.
so it serves absolutely everyone, yourself and those around you, when you operate from a sense of truth, regardless of how they're perceiving it in any particular moment. Because even if they're perceiving it negatively, that's an indication whether or not they see it this way. That's an indication that they've got something that they need to take a deep dive into within themselves.
Mhm. Agree.
Um, you're giving everyone the indicators that they need by you living in your truth.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, you living in your truth will not adversely affect someone else living in their truth.
Agreed.
And if it's
Agreed.
adversely affecting someone, you living in your truth, they've got something that they need to deal with.
Agreed. 100% agree with everything you just said there because I think what you've just done there is really highlight, like, take yourself out of it for a moment because
Yeah.
I think that's easy for a lot of us to wrap our minds around, like, okay, it's not serving me. Let me do things that are serving me, blah, blah, blah.
Mm,
Putting
yeah.
yourself to one side for a moment, just realizing that you not operating in your truth isn't serving other people as well. So nobody's winning in this situation, right? It may look like it in the short term, but actually, you by living in your truth gives other people permission to do so themselves.
Mm, yeah.
An example, I'll give an example that I think many people, including myself, kind of faced over this holiday season, which is Christmas, right? There's certain expectations around Christmas. Um, some people have really challenging times being around their families over the Christmas period, but because it's something that they've always done or continue to do, it even if they don't want to do it, they will go ahead and spend the time around the people that perhaps trigger them or they don't
Mm,
particularly want to be around for whatever reason.
yeah.
And this is just a small basic example of where you can change you can change the game here and give other people permission to say, actually, you know what? I'm not really feeling this either. Or, this isn't something that I feel like doing or whatever it is. And it's these moments, it's doing these moments like just across your lifetime that is really, really important. So for me, I'll be honest, transparency here. I was thinking about typically Christmas is spent with family, spent with my mom, my brother, auntie, grandma, blah, blah, blah. And this year I just wanted to do something a little different. I wanted something low key. I wanted to spend it with my partner and just like I just didn't want the big shebang, you know.
Yeah.
It's just I didn't I can't even explain. It's just I just wasn't feeling it, right? And
And that's
that's
okay.
and once again acknowledging that that's okay. But I myself had difficulty when it came to actually saying that, and I
Yeah.
had to like really you sort of supported me and saying, no, think about what it is that you want to do, and if it isn't, then that's okay. Like, and me as somebody who is always speaking about living in your truth, had that moment of like
Mm,
is
yeah.
it, and I had to be honest with myself, like, is
Yeah.
this something that you want to do? If it's not, that's okay. It doesn't matter if it disappoints other people. It doesn't matter if you have not, fulfilled their expectation that you will be there always. Is it serving you or not? And the thing is, once I had shared that with my mom and said, actually, I changed my mind. I just want a quiet Christmas and da, da, da. Life goes on.
Literally.
Like life goes on and everything is fine. It's like sometimes we can make things more of a monster in our head than it actually is when we just do the very thing that we actually want to do, the
Yeah.
thing that actually resonates with us. So I hope that's a bit of inspiration for anybody who's having that moment over this holiday season, because it's a big
I'm
thing.
sure there's a lot of people having
It's a
those
big
moments.
thing, right? So to not attend the expected big Christmas gathering that takes place. And I think also for me, as somebody who isn't Christian, right? It's the holiday season doesn't mean the same. The Christmas season doesn't mean the same to me as it does for those who perhaps are, right? So there's
Yeah.
also a difference in connection, even with that holiday season. Not that I don't love, gathering with family and the food and the drinks and the good times. Of course I do, but um, with that added part to it, it's like, yeah, it's no big deal for me, you
Yeah.
know. By me doing that, gives other people permission to recognize that they can also very much stand in their truth and honor exactly how they're feeling and say, actually, this isn't something that I want to do or resonate with. And those are simple examples because it can get more complicated.
Oh yeah. Absolutely. And it's like but that's also what happens, right? Like what you just said. You end up inspiring a lot of people and also not even just inspiring, but I feel like for many people, it doesn't occur to them that they can choose differently. It's just like, this is Christmas, for example. We gather with family. I don't particularly want to do it. Or sometimes they don't even have that conversation with themselves in terms of saying, do I really want to do this? They just kind of go along with it, but they don't feel great about it. But it doesn't
Mm,
occur to them to really sit with themselves and be like, is this something that I actually want to be doing? And
mhm,
then even further than that, it doesn't occur to them to say, okay, well, I don't have to. And I feel
mm.
like that happens with so many things. Like you said, there's so many examples, but that happens with so many things throughout life where it just doesn't occur to people that they have the option to choose a different choice.
Crazy. Like when you really think about it, like the fact that so many people can be sitting there in turmoil about doing something or going along with something, even though they have the feeling of not desiring or not wanting to do that, but feeling like they have no choice. And it's a mental thing.
Yeah.
It's really a mental thing. And what came to me as you were speaking was that this is why it's important to practice standing on your truth in the smallest of examples, because once you start making that a habit in your daily life, like asking yourself, is this something that I want to do? Somebody invites you somewhere. Is this something that I want to do? If someone says, oh, I got a free cup of coffee, do you want it? Do you actually want the coffee? Or do you
Fashion.
like actually stopping, taking a moment and thinking in the really small, seemingly insignificant moments? Someone says, "Oh, I've got some food here." Like whatever it is, like checking in with self and saying, "Do I actually want this? Do I want
Right.
to do?" And you'll find that there's so many of us that actually go along with really small, seemingly insignificant things that
Yeah.
aren't actually in alignment with what we want or desire. So I think by practicing checking in with self on really small things
Yeah.
throughout your day is a way to get you into the habit of checking in with yourself and then being honest about whether this is actually in alignment with what you desire, what you want, or what you don't want. And then it becomes easier over time to just speak on it because it's no longer, or it becomes less uh emotional because it's just a matter of yes or no,
Yeah.
right?
It
Take out
becomes
the
less of a
middleman.
thing.
Yeah, that's it. It becomes way less of a thing. It's just like, okay, no, this isn't something I want to do. And you become desensitized to other people's responses because that's a big part of it. A lot of the
Mm.
time, and I can speak and I can attest to this as someone who most definitely still to some degree finds challenging, but I'm pushing through that regardless, in spite of, right? Is that um sometimes with certain people, and it's usually family, um, where you don't want to disappoint. You never really want to disappoint people. You never want to um, upset them or uh, their expectation of you isn't what you're kind of what's the phrase I'm looking for? You're not meeting their expectations. That's it, right? And I had to learn and and like that's their
Why do we
stuff.
have any expectations of you in the first place?
Exactly. Like that's literally their stuff. I'm realizing that you're gonna disappoint and it's not your responsibility to make somebody pleased or happy about anything in relation to you. If they feel that and if they feel joy, well, that's good for them. But ultimately, practicing like doing things because you feel a level of satisfaction, alignment, joy, whatever it is, but you're doing it because you want to do it, right? And whatever happens as a result of that isn't your responsibility, no problem. And when you start getting to that frame of mind, it's like now you can feel a bit more empowered because it's like you're not connected to the emotions or the expectations of anything else or anyone else.
Yeah.
You're solely operating from your intuitive guidance, your divine guidance, how you feel, how you're resonating, your alignment. And if somebody else is operating in that way, in their life, they'll recognize that in you. They won't
Yeah.
have certain expectations of you because they understand that however you're choosing to navigate life is because you're being honest and integral to yourself. And they respect that, whatever that looks like.
Right.
They don't center themselves and their emotions and their feelings in what you're doing. So that's a red flag that sometimes we have to look out for because there's a lot of times where people center themselves in your experience that they have no business centering themselves in. Zero.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter who it is.
Yeah.
Zero business centering themselves. And so you've got to be aware of the level or lack thereof self-awareness that some may have.
Yeah.
And when you recognize that, you need to take even you need to be even less concerned with how they think or how they feel about certain things because
Yeah.
they don't have that inbuilt self-awareness clock or barometer to help them navigate their experience,
Right.
their outrage, or their emotional responses to life and things that are happening
They're
around
not
them.
honoring themselves ultimately. And
Yeah.
if someone's not honoring themselves and doesn't just maybe doesn't know how to honor themselves or it doesn't occur to them to honor themselves, they are most certainly not going to um give you the grace. You don't need their grace, but they're not going to have that grace when it
Yeah.
comes to you honoring yourself.
Yeah.
And so it's like when you go on a path of consistently honoring yourself,
Mhm.
people will come to know that this is just how you are now. And so they'll, like you was just saying, like they'll start to not have those expectations of you. And then
Mhm.
you'll actually, your reality will actually shift so that you find yourself um mixing and mingling with people who do operate how you operate
Yeah. Yeah.
because you've created that new um energetic boundary for yourself. You created that new energy and essence and reality. And so that's what's going to start showing up. And those who can't, who don't align with that ultimately will fade away. And even if it is like family, family can still fade away and pop up now and again when necessary, but they won't be so prominent in your reality because it's like
Mhm.
they just know now, even if it's not even a conscious thing, they just energetically know not to even come to you with certain things because that's just how you are.
So true. And like I definitely experienced that. And for me, it's a great thing. No, seriously, it's a great thing when like people um recognize that in you. And let's say they're not necessarily doing that for themselves. Um, Keeping your distance is like a great thing because it means that they're not constantly triggered by how I'm operating and I'm not having to consider somebody who's not operating like that. It's a win-win on both sides, even
Yeah.
though it may not seem it on the surface because it's like, oh, we're family and we should, and I love this person. Yeah, you can have those feelings and you can absolutely love and adore this individual, but ultimately, when you're operating in a certain way, you want to be, and you will be surrounded by others who understand that and who will resonate with that way of operating. And anything that isn't aligned with that or does not serve you will start to distance and fall away. And that's just the way that it goes. That's that,
And you
what I
don't even
say,
have
that's
to
how the cookie
consciously
crumbles.
try. Yeah, that's how
Yeah,
the cookie crumbles.
that's how the
You're not
cookie
even gonna
crumbles.
have to try to seek out people who are aligned with you in this way or try to
Mhm,
let go. You simply living in your truth moment to moment, day to day, choice to choice is just going to that alone is going to do the work for you.
mhm.
That's going to attract and repel whatever.
100%. I had a family member call me unreliable in a situation before. And I, um, when I, it was my message. And when I read that, I, I was in agreement. I was in total agreement. No, I was in total agreement with
Yeah.
that. Some people say, "Oh, you're like unreliable isn't a positive." No, it is. It is when you have been recognized as somebody who walks their own unique path, who isn't somebody who is predictable and will always honor themselves. It's a compliment as far as I'm concerned, because you can't rely on me to um, follow anything, follow anyone, do what is
Yeah.
expected of me, because that's not my concern and those are not my expectations. And whether you understand it or not, whether you like it or not, whether it serves you or not, whether you agree with it or not, I'm always going to honor myself first. And honoring myself is always going to be the path that I'm going to take. And that doesn't
Yeah.
mean that it's at the expense of you or at the expense of our relationship. What that means is if you're somebody who also, like we said, somebody who also operates in that way, you'd recognize that and respect it for what it is
Yeah.
and say, actually, I might not understand exactly what's going on here, but I know that she's operating from a place of love, from a place of truth, from a place of understanding.
Yeah.
There's a certain level of emotional intelligence. There's divine guidance and alignment happening within her experience. And
Yeah.
so if I don't, even if I don't understand it, understanding that that's not even for that person to understand because it's
I
your
was literally
experience,
just thinking that
right?
it's not even for them to
It's not
understand.
for them to and respecting that. So in when I was referred to as kind of like unreliable, I was like, yeah,
Why,
I
thank you.
I absolutely am. I am, you know, and that doesn't mean
Yeah.
that you can't count on me um to pour love into you, to support you when you need supporting. But remember, it's not always going to look like your expectation,
Yeah. It's not always gonna look how you want it to look.
right? It's not always going
Yeah.
to look like that. So, yeah, you don't have to conform to anybody's expectation. You continue to honoring yourselves means walking a path that others won't necessarily understand. And knowing that and still walking that path.
Yeah.
Because ultimately that's the journey that's going to serve you. And when you're walking along a trajectory that serves you, it serves everybody, whether they
Oh,
realize it or
absolutely.
not.
Absolutely. And, even I'm just thinking back to the first part of our topic, the Emerald Path. And I wanted to mention even why that is included, because with everything that we are doing with her Emerald Club and our divine mission to empower women to tap into the highest possibilities available to them, but also live deeply in their truth. The very act of living in your truth is the foundation of what we are doing here. And so all of our resources and offerings and the ways in which we bring women together in community are going to, the intention is to remind you that you are absolutely on track when you live in your truth. Every single choice that you make that is um, aligned with who you truly are and aligned with where you're being called is the right choice. And so that is something that's going to be reiterated throughout everything that we are doing. Um, yeah, everything that we're speaking on, everything that we are doing within her Emerald Club, that is the foundation. And so I think that's important to mention because like we were saying earlier, when you do decide to commit to a path of authenticity and living in your truth, it can feel scary because you feel like it's a lone path, or you may not even just that it's a lone path, but you may lose um or become come away from what you've been used to in terms of people and situations and environments and experiences. Um and what we are doing with her Emerald Club is here to serve as a reminder that you will find who you are aligned with. You will absolutely find who you are aligned with. And although you may come into this space and you may not find people who are who are on your exact path, you'll find people who can hold space for whatever path that you're on, while
Mm,
be also being on their path.
mhm,
It's a higher and elevated way of being. To
mhm,
be surrounded by those who have that level of self-awareness and who have that desire to tap into their own deep truth. Because when you come across people like that, they are emitting such a different kind of energy and love,
Mm,
um, and are able to hold such space for whoever you are,
mm,
which is often what we uh, have have struggles coming away from when it comes to those that we've grown up around or been around. Um, a lot of people aren't used to people being able to hold space for them in that way, and so
yeah.
um, yeah, we're on a mission here.
Absolutely. I it's the freedom and the breath of fresh air that it is to be around people who are like that.
Yeah,
And it's a very uncomfortable feeling to like be around people who do not. Like always questioning, always second guessing, always like your brain must be overthinking so many situations. And I think for so many people, they don't even realize that that's what's happening because they've
yeah,
been in spaces like that for so long. And to be in a place where, or be surrounded by people who are have a level of self-awareness, are rooting for you to be honest and living your truth. Don't have any expectations of you to show up in any particular way because it makes them feel better or
mm,
serves them. Like those are red flags that I think so many of us don't recognize or
yeah,
realize is it, our toxic traits in friendships, relationships.
yeah,
It's like having a friend and then expecting them, like, this friend's always going to operate this well. She's always going to do this well. Or I can trust this one because she's, and the word that I always find somewhat problematic, loyalty, right? Not everybody will agree, but for me, I don't even think about people in terms of loyalty because you should be loyal to your truth, whatever that is, full
yeah,
stop. And I don't have an expectation of you to show up for me in a particular way ever.
yeah,
I'm going to be aligned with the person who is doing that for themselves, who's doing that work. And I always say this about us, and I think some people may find it hard to believe, but I'm here for those who believe it, right? At the end of the day, those
yeah,
who it resonates with. You and I are on such similar paths and trajectories, and how we navigate life can look different, but the essence of who we are is similar, not because we try to be similar, but because we're walking in our truth. We're
mm,
walking a path that resonates with us as
yeah,
individuals. And there's this spiritual connection that we do have that keeps us in alignment. And that's what, for me, true, for want of a better word, friendship looks like, right?
yeah,
It's resonating and being in alignment with fellow humans, right?
yeah,
Without you having to force it or without you having to try to make it work or this or that. There's just something about you living in your truth and them living in their truth and the connection that you have along your individual paths that keeps
yeah,
you connected. It's magnetic,
yeah,
right? And that process of magnetism is the friendship,
yes,
right? Not that you're trying to be magnetic. What you're doing magnetizes you towards one another.
yeah,
So that energy itself is the friendship. And I think
mm,
so many people are in situations or connected to people because of history or because of circumstances and because of expectations. And so this has been my friend for the last 30 odd years, 20 odd years, and you don't like a thing about them. They're annoying. They don't resonate with you.
yeah,
They're frustrating. They're this, they're that. And they may feel the same way about you because you got two people here. For you to still be connected to that individual means there's something in you that you're how you're operating that is
right,
connected to this individual. So
yeah,
it's never ever one-sided. But it's like looking at your relationships and asking yourself, like, is this how do I actually feel?
yeah,
You know, and this is the hard part for a lot of people, trusting the process, not forcing anything, and being prepared for some of those relationships to fizzle out over time not necessarily you fall out or anything like that, but life takes you in other directions. But knowing that when you are operating and living in your truth, you're going to be connected to those along the way who do resonate with you. And
Yeah.
sometimes people in life are for a season, you experience them for a season, they come into your life because of certain experiences that you've had. And that's a beautiful thing. And it doesn't take away or negate the beauty of the experience that you had with that individual,
Yeah.
but be honest about how you're operating and what resonates with you, and whether this is something that you desire to continue or it just there's a disconnect, and recognizing that that is totally okay.
Yeah. I also, as you were saying that, I was thinking, I feel like a lot of relationships haven't been formed in truth and from truth, from a
Mm.
place of you living in your authenticity and truth. And I feel like those relationships in particular are pretty fragile. And so when you do start to, I'm just thinking, because when you do start to live in your truth, consciously and authentically living your truth, those kind of relationships are, they're going to fracture because there was a fall based on who you truly were as a person. But then when you do come into new unions and connections and relationships with people from that sense of truth, um, that relationship, uh, it's 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 more fortified in a way that, not that it's going to always stay in the same. You're not that you're always going to stay in connection with that person in the same capacity always. Um, but if you've both connected in that authenticity and in that truth, there's a that's so much more of a solid foundation than the ones that you have formed in pretense, so to speak.
Definitely,
And
yeah.
so you may weave in and out of each other's lives, but whenever you come together, it's going to be just how exactly how it was when you last came together, and you're
Because
both going
there's
to
no
have,
pretense.
right. There's no pretense, and there's grace. Everyone has grace, and everyone's letting everyone live in their authenticity. And different relationships are going to vary in how you relate to one another. And there's all kinds of relationships in this world, but when you do form a relationship with someone from a sense of authenticity and truth, both of you, um, it's so much more fortified.
I agree with that. It reminded me of, I don't know whose page this was on, but I was on Instagram the other day and I came across, it was two women having a conversation about it was like a short clip, but the bit that I got was just about why one of those ladies was having problems in like the dating arena. So it's two black women speaking. And as she was speaking, she was saying, what she's not going to do, what she's tired of doing when she shows up in these, like goes for dates and this and that. And all I could hear was like all these like rules and regulations of like how to navigate and operate within this dating arena that didn't sound like any of that came from how she actually wanted to operate, but how she thought she needed to operate in order to find the right individual. And I've
Right.
heard rhetoric like that before. And I don't think women often realize that that's what that actually is. It's you not being yourself, you putting on, for whatever reason, your armor, or this is how I'm gonna operate, this is how I'm not gonna operate, or I'm not gonna say this, even down to saying I'm not gonna call him any like cute pet names. Like to me, all these rules and regulations were just ridiculous. Girl, just be yourself.
Yeah. Whatever that looks like in any
Being
given
yourself,
moment.
whatever that looks like. And that's not to say like not to have any boundaries or
Right.
any agreements that you make with yourself in order to um be wise and discerning, right? But
Yeah.
there was just so much going on there, which sounded like didn't sound like she was trying to operate in her truth at all. It
Yeah.
was more so, let me arm myself up against the problems that may come my way. And
Mm.
I'm gonna, so that I can't get defeated in a way. And I was like, this is no way to, girl, if you're trying to find somebody who truly resonates with you, pretending to be somebody you're not, essentially. And I don't mean in terms of financially or anything. I mean just in character, in
How you
person
truly want to operate.
is not going to, how do you expect to attract somebody that you resonate with by not being yourself? This is why when I say it does all a disservice, what we talked about earlier, you can get into situations or being around people where you not operating your truth is not just doing a disservice to you, you're doing a disservice to the other person because now this person
Yeah,
has an expectation of how you do operate, or they think this is who you are, when actually you've decided, okay, in 2 months' time, I'm going to let my guard down in this area. And it's like he thought you were somebody else, or that's not something that,
yeah, yeah.
and sometimes it may be okay, but there's plenty of times where it's not going to work in your favor because that's not, you were
Who they thought you
dishonest
were. Yeah.
to yourself, to the other person. So yeah, that situation was just like, oh, this that dating sort of scenario is overcomplicated by people just not being themselves.
Yeah.
I don't wish to be out in that dating world.
Well, thank goodness you are not. Thank goodness neither of us are.
No, and I can speak for me, as I can only speak for myself ever, but meeting my partner and knowing like wholeheartedly there was no pretense.
Yeah,
Like this is who I am. This is the trajectory that I'm on. This is what I like, I don't like. These are the things that I'm thinking about. And you resonate, you don't. And he's very much the same. He's somebody who can't pretend at
yeah,
all.
yeah.
Like just he's not into the acting. This is who he is. What you see is what you
Yeah,
get type of
yeah.
situation. And I think more people would really benefit from operating in that way. Just be who you are to yourself because it's such a freeing feeling.
And it actually makes life easier. So many I wrote on Threads the other day. Um, so many people are scared to like follow their intuition, but
Mm.
it's literally the safest thing we can do.
Yeah, I remember
And
100%.
you were so scared. And it is conditioning and programming because we're taught to look externally for answers, and we're taught that we need to have proof of this and that we need to follow the right path, and we need to not take risks and things like that. But more often than not, following your intuition can look crazy. Look is the
Yeah.
word, is the operative word, can look crazy to when put up against what we've been taught is the appropriate thing to do, an appropriate way to live.
Mhm.
But that we literally have our own inner GPS system that so many of us are fighting against
Yep.
because due to what we've been taught is the right way to do things and operate. And there are certain levels to this. There are people that have, the mastered certain levels of listening to themselves, but then it's like it gets deeper because there are loads and loads and loads of agreements that we've made with ourselves in our minds as to how things need to go, even on the most minute levels that we don't even realize. And then
Mm.
our intuition then tells us to go in these other directions that are in conflict with these agreements. And that's where that fear comes up because it's like, oh, no, but I've told my mind that this is the right way to do things. And it's like,
Mm.
we make things hard for ourselves.
We do. We
We
do.
make things hard for ourselves. It's like turning on the Google Maps and being like, okay, yeah, tell me where to go, and then it says, "Oh, turn right." And you're like, no, no, I'm gonna turn left because
Yeah.
this is a clear path, and I know this way because the thing just said go right. You don't even know that there's the roadworks down the road on the left hand side that you're
Mm.
not gonna be able to pass through.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, just listen.
Yeah.
I mean,
And
Google
it's
Maps do be acting up sometimes now.
yeah, it does.
That's just, you get what I'm trying to
It
say.
does. Well, we get the analogy. Yeah, we definitely do. It's yeah, there's definitely levels. I think we've spoken on like listening to ourselves in relation to navigating our experience in society with family, friends, people, and those sorts of expectations. But also like living in our truth and listening to ourselves, I think we can kind of mix those two into one conversation actually, because that had me thinking about even listening to ourselves and our bodies, right? On even like a physical level. And there's so many of us that are not taught to, or don't even know what that is, right? Our body
Yeah.
is literally constantly communicating with us, like nonstop.
Yeah.
From the tiny little twinges you get in your hands, to your arms, your this, your that, um, the sensations, the feelings, the gut feelings, the intuition, like there's a constant um network of just like communication that is always taking place. And I always say like this is kind of going off topic ever so slightly, but more often than not, not more often than not, always, illness doesn't come about from nowhere.
Yeah.
Always starts from somewhere, right?
Yeah.
So our bodies often give us signals along the way as to something not being right. And it's not always going to start off as a sharp headache or constant vomiting. It's going to be, I'll get a sensation in my stomach, or there's something I get just a feeling or a level of discomfort that you might get after you eat
Yeah.
something or whatnot. But it's learning to listen to ourselves in that way
Yeah.
and honoring our bodies, honoring our bodies and actually living in our truth as to what works for us and what doesn't work for us, especially in the context of, I want to tie it into this holiday season. There's some of us that are about to indulge in dine with people and foods and things that aren't aligned with us and what we're doing. And we sacrifice ourselves for the pleasure of the experience. And it's like, no, honoring yourselves has levels to it. And yes, you may be able to indulge in this or that or this or that, but understanding that honoring yourselves isn't just in those sorts of spaces. It's actually like listening to every part of you, and that's your body included. In fact, that's most of you in
Yeah.
navigating this experience. So I just wanted to touch on that as well, like living in your truth, honoring yourselves. Like there's so many ways that you can look at that topic, and um, we often look at it in terms of connections and relationships with other people, but how about the connection and relationship we have with ourselves?
Yeah.
I think that's the most important one, because once you start doing it on really small, simple ways, like we were saying earlier, it becomes easier to do it in what we perceive to be bigger ways, but it's not even bigger ways. It's just a way of operating that you become used to doing.
Yeah. And you become used to just actually asking yourself, like checking in with yourself in every moment and not just like really bringing to the forefront all the things that you've just come to accept as just the way it is. Because and challenging that, because it's not just the way it is. Like we have so much more choice than we give ourselves power for and over. Like
Mhm.
nothing is just the way it is. Like you question and challenge everything as it pertains to how you feel.
Mm, I like that.
Everything.
Question and challenge everything as it pertains to how you feel. Really important, because I think many of us have been taught that how we feel is insignificant.
Yeah.
So many areas in so many ways, even like childhood conditioning of like children speaking up and parents like suppressing that and saying this is big people conversation or about certain things. And yes, context
Yeah.
is key, but
Yeah.
there's times where it's that can be damaging.
Yeah.
That can be very damaging. So yeah, I forgot the phrase that you know that you the exact phrase that you use, but in relation to how you feel,
Yeah.
it's really, really important. Like, yeah. But then again, I think there's, to put another spin on this, I kind of feel like there's this generation that's coming up behind us that are, I don't know if it's even, let me just say what I was going to say, that are in their feelings a lot.
Okay. Yeah.
And about uh all kinds of things in relation to gender, in relation to just how they experience life and this world. And I think it's always a great thing to have autonomy over the mind and sovereignty over just your experience and how you think and how you feel. Um, but I also think it's important. And it's kind of difficult to speak on because I'm not a parent at this present moment, but it's our responsibility to operate in a way and live in our truth that gives the younger generation permission to do so in a healthy way
Yeah.
as well, because you can get extremes of everything.
Yeah.
And then you can go from, I'm living in my truth, but be so spiritually void and have zero consideration for the beauty of this, the nuance and the beauty of this planet and this world, that you're just in an extreme on the other
It's like
side.
what is it like really understanding what it means to live in the truth, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. And so I'm looking forward to both you and I being parents and learning to navigate that space, because I think
Yeah.
we're striving for uh, balance
Yeah.
um, in all areas. But yeah, that was just a side thought about this generation we coming up behind us that have has a bigger voice than I
Yeah.
think generations prior, or prior, is that the word I'm looking for? Generations before, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Generation,
Yeah. Yeah.
which is a great thing. Um, but guidance is always important and helpful and necessary. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
I think it's about everything coming into balance, like you said. Um, but I feel like sometimes it is like there are extremes before you can kind of get to the equilibrium,
Mhm.
so to speak, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Kind of to pull away completely from what's not going right to kind of get to get to that state of balance.
It kind of reminds me of like a, what's it called? A pendulum. So it can
Yes.
swing from one side to the other, so, but then there can be like this, it gets to a point where there's like this um finding of the middle point. Even if
Yeah.
there is movement, it's like,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And I
Yeah.
think,
Yeah.
yeah, we're in a time where there's some a revolution is always an extreme response. Extreme doesn't mean negative or bad. It
Yeah.
just means in contrast to what was perceived to be acceptable or the norm. So I
Yeah.
think we're in that space at this moment with a lot of things. But ultimately, I'm looking forward to more and more people just living in their truth and honoring themselves in the tiniest of moments, just asking yourself on a very basic level, do I want this? Do I like this? How do I feel about this? Not speaking or responding so quickly to anything, taking a beat, taking a moment, give yourself permission to think before you respond or react to anything and everything.
Yeah.
Whether that's conversations, suggestions, someone's waiting on you for an answer, give yourself the room to say, let me get back to you. Even
Yeah.
if that is in 5 minutes time or 5 hours time, be honest
Yeah.
about, I need some time. Like just
Yeah.
living your truth takes discernment, it
Yeah.
takes self-awareness, and it takes a moment of processing and connecting
Yeah.
with yourself. Life can have us looking in so many different directions that we get a bit confused or discombobulated at times,
Yeah.
and that's totally normal.
Yeah.
So taking a beat and saying, oh, actually, let me get back to you on that, you know.
Yeah,
And I've got to get better. I'll be honest, I've got to get better at doing that because sometimes I'll uh agree to something and then chances are I will always, even if I agree to something in the moment and then I'll go back to the person when I realize this isn't what is in alignment and say, really sorry, I'm gonna have to da, 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 da. And what I
yeah,
want to get better at is not making any promises
yeah,
before protecting myself. So
yeah,
rather than making an agreement and then having to go back and have this
yeah,
whole experience now of like, okay, I'm gonna have to disappoint this person or this individual, blah, blah, just saying, I'll let you know.
yeah, yeah, 100%. It's like there are, I feel like for many people, there are just so many little moments throughout our day that we are abandoning ourselves. Like, it's in the minute moments because, like, some people can think, a lot of us can think, okay, I'm going to start living in my truth. And you go to thinking about the big decisions that we make in life. And it's like, actually, on the most minute levels, day to day, like you said, like answering someone too quickly or going to an event that you don't really want to go to, or answering the phone when you don't really want to answer it right now, or just the little things that we do in the day to day that without checking in with ourselves that you really don't want to be doing. Those are the small changes that are going to compound to create a life of truth.
Mhm,
It's not always about the big life decisions about what where you're going to work or where you're going to live or whatever it is that is. Those are important when it comes to living in truth, but ultimately you want to be a person that lives authentically
mhm.
because the big things will come
Yeah,
easy after that.
yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this has been powerful and it's I feel like it's such a, a, a good insight into just the I think we've raised lots of food for thought here in terms of um what it actually means to live in your truth and I guess highlighted things that may not have occurred to many when it comes to living in truth.
Mhm,
Um, and that's always the aim, right? It's to sometimes you just need to hear a certain sentence or
mhm.
just hear someone's experience that kind of shifts something in your mind. But this is the foundation of and the premise of everything that we're about. Um, truth, personal truth and authenticity and
Yeah,
reaching for everything because we are so capable of so much as human beings. We've got these highly intelligent vessels that we are literally just touching the surface of in terms of what they are able to do. And so this is what we're about. And so, but on the foundational level, it's about come in tune with yourself so that you can start living in truth, so that you can start really unlocking your capabilities and seeing what's
yeah,
possible for you.
yeah. Agreed. Agreed. Perfect. Um, it's like the only way to really keep expanding.
Yeah,
Like to not living your truth is to be in a constant state of resistance
yeah,
with self, and it's self where that divine guidance is coming from. Like you're connected to this like web of consciousness and you keep denying your truth, you're just like blocking all your blessings as you go along the path. The
everything.
small decisions, the really tiny things that can lead you to something, that lead you to something else. You saying to yourself, you know what? I really, I know I really should do this, can't be bothered. That thing that you could, that you maybe should have done, or maybe that trip that you should have taken, or that walk to the store to go and get something that you needed to get may have led you to connecting or bumping into someone who was going to guide and assist you on your next path or your next trajectory. So
Yeah,
it's like when you get these moments of like divine guidance, for example, not suppressing that or pushing it to one side and being like, oh, I can't bother it. Like you're gonna block your blessings. You're
Yeah.
receiving this information for a reason, asking yourself, is this something that I feel like I should be doing? Not because there's societal pressures and expectations, but you feel like this is a sign or you're being guided to. If you think it's a sign, take it. That's
Yeah.
that's that's one thing I learned. Somebody said that. There was something that we watched, I think, where
Yeah.
someone like, if you think it's a sign, it
It
is,
is.
and even just following that. Um, but yeah, living in your truth is the goal. And there's levels to everything, of course. It's a never-ending climb of a ladder. As humans,
Yeah.
as long as we're living and we're breathing, there's always levels to this. But it makes for such a beautiful and nuanced experience um, when when you're striving to live in a way that grants you such freedom and sovereignty and autonomy and love and
Yeah.
beauty. Like what comes from you owning yourself,
Yeah.
like honoring yourself is a beautiful experience for you.
Yeah.
It leads you to more beautiful experiences. Don't worry about the people or the places or things that don't or no longer resonate. That's okay because you're going to
Yeah.
be magnetized to the things that are and do.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think this is a great conversation. And I trust that, I don't hope, I trust that this conversation inspires um, our listeners to really, yeah, check in with themselves and ask questions on the smallest of levels, with the goal of building their confidence in honoring themselves in all moments,
Yeah.
regardless of regardless of who may like or dislike. Is this your truth? That could be your kids, that could be a partner, that could be workplace, that could be a stranger.
Yeah.
Just being honest and operating from a place of love.
Yeah.
Always like, I'm going to answer this honestly, I'm going to operate honestly, knowing that or the decision that I'm about to make on this matter is going to create such beautiful and powerful impact, that more greatness is going to come from it than anything else. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'll leave that there.
Yeah. 100% agree. Um, yeah, this was a powerful conversation. We can leave it here. And you in the caption, we'll put all of our links into where you can sign up for the waitlist for the Her Emerald Club app, and
Mhm,
also tap into our own offerings that we have
mhm.
that will be available between now and the app launch. And yes, look back on our previous videos. We've had a few
Yes,
videos on different topics now, so definitely check those out and like and share with anyone
that's it.
you
Like,
feel
comment,
would.
subscribe, share the whole
Yeah,
way.
yeah, share, and
Follow us on
yeah,
Threads. Follow us
follow
on
us
Threads.
on Threads. We're very active on Threads. Links
Mhm.
will be in the description,
Yeah,
and we look forward to seeing you in our next Timeless Goddess Insights
which
webinar.
won't be next week because it's Christmas week
Yes,
next week, and then so we'll be back the following week on.
Wednesday. We will be doing our Timeless Goddess Insights on Wednesdays now.
Yeah. So the Wednesday after Christmas, whatever that date is.
Yes.
All right, cool.
Okay.